Roger out.
And moving around, getting familiar with the surface.
Okay, Al, beautiful. We can see you coming down the ladder right now. It looks like you're about on the bottom step. And on the surface.
Apparently used to see pictures of the people, yeah.
Okay, you're right.
There they are.
Al's on the surface, and it's been a long way, but we're here.
It's been a long way for Al Shepard.
This is the crates, this is the basement. A lot of times when I'm making like sample-based music, I'll start off the day down here and I'll just go pick out 20 or 30 records. And whatever the style is I'm working on, I'll take those records and I'll just listen to them. Sometimes I do it on Sundays. But that's just the process for me when it comes to making sample-based music. Classic. It's got the Your Mom's in My Business. EPMD sampled this record like 20 times. My Jamal. Classics. This is like digging 101 for those who dig jazz. Everybody who digs got a West Montgomery joint. You know, it's like Bob James. It's like 4 or 5 dudes where you come in and crate, you're like, yeah, you got a West Montgomery, George Benson, Bob James, Bill Evans. Then you get into the real like crazier you know, flyers. Just abstract like this is like all flute solos for the whole record. There's literally only one instrument on this record, and it's basically a motherfucker playing like flute on the whole thing with this crazy delay on it, so it sounds all weird and spacey. It's just like bugged out. I've used this on the Logic records on some background many times. Do the hokey pokey. Who remembers this on Saturday mornings? Multiplication Rock. This is like a lot of my tape collection. Some of my family gave me all these joints too. So a lot of people in my family, they know I collect music. So when they was getting rid of their they would hit me. Like, yo, I got mad tapes. This is all gospel tapes too. Wait a minute. SWV remix. Nice. Classic. Floppies. This is all from my first sampler, the EPS. Back in the day, this gonna look like some old dinosaur shit to people watching. Back in the day, you know, you had to use floppies to save it on. So you might have 4 to 5 floppies to save one god beat. That shit was exhausting, but that was, you know, how you had to do it. So you imagine I'm sitting here with hundreds of god floppies, but that doesn't mean I got hundreds of beats. It's just the way the went. It was so much more expensive to do it then, and these floppies don't even hold that much, so you'd have to save one beat across all this shit. So it's like frequency of transmission, some old greenhouse. Tracks 3 and 4, everything else. You just had to name your shit so you would know how to load the beat up later. So even if you ain't like a beat that much, it's gonna take up 5 or 6 goddamn floppies. Scribble Jam 99. VHS, Greenhouse Effect, and a Logic. Yeah, this is our set, 99. We played with Idea and Abilities, Atmosphere, and I think Count Basie was on that show too. He don't remember being on that show, but he was on that show with Mr. Dibbs. And that was like our first Scribble Jam where we was just like trying to take the motherfucker over. And I was in the battle. We performed. Yeah, VHS tapes. Been making beats since 96. I got my first sampler, and that's when I got into digging. So everything you see in this room is a result of that journey as a record collector, and just trying to find the freshest shit. You know, I used to dig every Saturday when I lived in Cincinnati, and every Saturday morning around 10 o'clock, I just head out and dig for a couple hours, come home with a few records, and the next thing you know, years go by and you got 5,000 records in your basement. But you know, this room is a huge source of inspiration, so it may always be here. Yeah. Battle of the Turntables. Oh yeah, that was the joint.
Still, yeah. Oh, that says Phase is top notch.
That was the first one, I think.
Yeah, that's the one where FaZe was punching the wall. And me and Manny looked at each other like, what did we just get into? He was sitting there like, wow, I'm ready for that. Like punching the wall. We were like, damn.
Them dudes always get mad when they battle.
There's another album mix fly. Early soul position.
Yeah, that's where we stole her name.
Yeah. I am Derek Hill, aka DJ Pos 2 of the legendary Phono Sluts from Columbus, Ohio. My earliest memory of Blueprint was I hadn't even met Blueprint yet, and I went to Roots Records, Thieves World, which was inside Roots Records, and Adrian was like, "Yo, this is tape, Blueprint, Greenhouse Effect." What he used to say, Greenhouse Effect dropped off. It's real dope. You know, we're listening to it, and it was the Up to Speed demo, and I believe Blueprint had brought it in there for Adrian to listen to, because that was basically the spot to do shows at the time. You know, if you wanted to be seen, a lot of respected individuals went to that every month to go check out people perform live, and then a few months later, Blueprint's on stage, or Greenhouse Effect's on stage, and definitely remember that performance.
The thing with me was like, you know, I moved away for a while. Like I was living out in Portland, and you know, you really get to see like what your city is doing from like an outside view, like, you know, other people talking. And you know, when I told them like, oh yeah, me and Print, you know, did shows together and stuff, they're like, what? Print's so dope. And you know, that made me feel real good, because you know, that's coming from Columbus, and it was just like, okay, wow, you know, everybody's paying attention. It wasn't just like, you know, just, you know, when you're here, you're like, everybody in the scene, you know, knows everybody and stuff like that. But when you really get out and other people heard this or heard that, like, yeah, that's how you just know.
Copyright.
Copyright feature senses. Oh, that's right.
I'll keep no shit like this anymore. It seems like it's just too. You see it all the time. My favorite thing, I guess, about Print, and not even like on the musical shit, is just knowing that when he's going all around the world, like he represents for Columbus, Ohio, and that is a big deal, because like when people don't know too much about your city, and then they know, wow, this dude is from Columbus and he's dope, and then that starts like a relationship, as far as like if I was in that person's same town and they know Blueprint's from Columbus, you're already that's just opening the door right there. So like it's just the respect that like Print held it down for Columbus and always holds it down for Columbus, and it's just always been two steps ahead of just about everything, and it's been very successful. So to me, he's a legendary, just being a good dude, and just, I don't know, just keep pushing the envelope.
Wow, I remember that. That shit was huge. That was like one of our first kind of sellouts where the line was like out the door. And we were like, oh, playing on Labor Day actually makes sense. No one has to work the next day. We were like, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, that's crazy right there.
So just picked up the vinyl from Musical, which is one of the oldest recording studios in Columbus. It's been here for 50, 60 years, passed down from father to son, and they do vinyl pressing in the basement over there. And it's a good day. 2 weeks till the record comes out. We got 1,000 pieces of vinyl on the back of this van, which is a lot. If you look at it, it's crazy, but by the end of this tour, it's gonna be gone if I got anything to do with it. So. Orange vinyl. It look tight. Hey, song.
All right, we'll get that up for you.
I chose King No Crown as the title of the album because the statement kind of represents what I think some people view me as a dude who is extremely talented, who is successful, but hasn't, quote unquote, got his crown yet. You know, a dude who the people cheer for, who has longevity, who's well respected with fans, with peers, and with press, but is not a household name, is not somebody that most people even know. But within this circle of underground music, of underground hip hop, he is like an icon.
May 2nd?
I think what separates me from a lot of the other artists who I came up with who are not successful is that I do actually, in terms of music, I always kind of have a plan. That's one thing. I think I definitely know that I put in a lot more work in areas that no one wants to put the work in than other people. You know, at the beginning of my career, I always felt like the talented people never seemed to be as successful as the lesser talented people. And that kind of always bothered me. And I was like, well, why is that? You know, but then when you start really hanging around super talented people, sometimes you notice that they don't work as hard. You know, and you know, oh, this is why you're not successful, because you don't work as hard as these lesser talented people. So I always wanted to try to augment my talent with a crazy work ethic. And so that is one thing that separated me. And then, you know, willingness to learn and adapt. You know, I'm never satisfied with just one thing. I want to learn a lot of things. All right, so this, for those who don't know, is a TR-606 drum machine. This is one of the machines that I used on King No Crown, just because I like the sound of it. It's a pretty rare drum machine. This is kind of like the parent of the TR-808 drum machine. This was before the TR-808 came out, which is like the standard. The 808 is what you hear in pretty much all commercial music right now, and the 606 has a lot of similar sounds. So the thing about the 606 is that it's a step sequencer, right? Meaning that you don't really play notes on this. It's not drum pad like the MPC or Machine. So you just program positions on it. So this works okay. It don't work all the time, but if you want that sound, that real electronic sound, you rock with this. And so sometimes I rock with different drum machines just so that I can get a different sound, so I do something different. But the reason I'm showing this is because this came out, and there's a machine that looks just like this. It's called the TB303. The TB303 looks exactly like this, except you program bass lines on it. The TB303 is rare as well, and that was used to basically, the TB303 is the sound that created techno and acid. And so if you hear any old classic acid or techno tracks, they are created with a TB303. Now, it's rare. So what they did, and because no one makes the 303 anymore, and Roland is just like, just like it, 808 is going to cost you $4 or $5 grand right now. I don't know why, but it's crazy. You can't get a 303 no more. So what they did is the market just said, F it. And people who love the 303 started coming out with machines that were just like it. Now that brings me to this one, which is basically what this is. This is the Korg Electribe. The Korg Electribe is basically like what the it's what the TB303 is. You got a step sequencer on it. You got basically a only one or two instruments can be programmed at all. So you get like a bass line and maybe some weird little background noise. That's it. There ain't no crazy programming beats. There ain't no drum programming on this machine. It's strictly for like bass lines. So I bought this when I was doing King No Crown just to get some different shit out of it. And this is the machine that I use to do Black Intellectual. So let me go up and see. So let me go up to where I think that's here. So if you listen. So this is the bass line to Black Intellectual. So if you want to see like how it's working. These are notes here, but it also, and it is your sequence. There's really only 4 sequences here. The rest is stuff I added when I actually did the beat. But here is just all the sounds. Then the bridge part is on here as well. I'm a black intellectual. Some people only hit me if I'm violent and sexual. Even my own kind caught up in a spectacle. They looking at a brother like he extraterrestrial. The earth makes aliens of humanity, eats its young and rewards some for vanity. F that, I'll fun crush all calamity. Gibraltar hard, but it chips off my sanity. If you're only bringing it, then stay in your place. There ain't nothing on my record I won't say to your face. Grab you up by the collar like the smile off your face. Create, transcend the concept of race. Beefing over petty things, but the stakes is actual. I fight for the side whose power is fractional. Tooth and nail, surrender will never be practical. An uphill battle, but the incline's gradual. That's it. That's the TB3. This is the Electribe. I almost called it the 303. But yeah, Electribe is basically like a knockoff TB303. But you can do some funky with it.
My name is Zillogic, aka Jawar Glass. friend of Prince forever.
My name is Grant Gatsby from Columbus, Ohio, with Everybody Else's Entertainment.
I am Senseless, also known as Jacob, local MC from Columbus, Ohio.
Jason Jones, also known as Unknown Jones. It is what it is. The first time I heard the King No Crown album, I thought it was phenomenal. The content really struck me as it was really positive and something to uplift people and get their spirits going, and also make you think at the same time about where you may be in your life and some things that you may need to get done. It's just kind of, to me, it came off more as a motivational type album.
It was advice. It was talking about things of, socioeconomics and things of that nature that really you wouldn't think of on your own. I mean, not me, so that's one reason especially why I'm thankful for a record like that one.
And the things that, he was talking about, I hadn't heard him, speak like that about certain issues, mainly, Black excellence, Black intelligence. I hadn't heard him speak on those things, at least as in depth. And it was great to hear, because we have those conversations all the time anyway.
King with No Crown is almost like an artistic perspective from the artist of almost an outline or a blueprint of this is real life. This is not something that just comes to you that can happen over time or happen the next second. It is almost a blueprint of the lifestyle that you have chosen. And if you can't accept that and can't understand the ups, the downs, what you're going to experience through the industry of being an entrepreneur, an artist, an MC, whatever the case may be, then you possibly might not be in the right industry or might not be in the right field, because King with No Crown is a perfect title for what real life art to me is. So that's what King with No Crown was.
Yeah. Who's the mayor of Cincinnati? Let's call him up.
I don't know.
Blueprint said.
Jerry Springer?
Used to be.
Used to be, right?
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Look what he's doing.
Still making money?
Still making money off people lying about
paternity
tests.
Girl
faking the
We
fights.
played a gig at his synagogue in high school. Or
He has a synagogue.
Well, I don't know.
Let's step back. He has a synagogue.
Not his personal.
You want the story? Yeah, wait.
The one that he
He's a man of God all of a sudden?
Yeah, Jerry Springer. It's the same Jerry Springer.
So he went to a
Jerry
synagogue.
Yahweh Springer.
I'm April Kulsar. I am the booking agent and promoter at Brothers Drake in Columbus, Ohio. And I shoot corner sessions. It's pretty much a hobby of mine, just to showcase my favorite talent in the city. And we have a lot of really diverse music in the city, and I kind of pick the best of every genre that I can find. And I chose Blueprint because I've been a fan of his for 15 years.
About here.
Okay.
We're gonna move in on you.
Okay.
We'll probably have you address the camera.
Yeah, so
You'll check with April. We haven't done one like that yet. Have you move in. We'll be here.
He is the pinnacle of poetry to me. The man can say nothing wrong. And he just keeps getting better and better. You think he's hit his pinnacle, and he just keeps breaking through the ceiling, and it's really inspiring to me. And to capture him in this moment in his career, I think is really important for me. That I feel like this is a really special video that we can release.
I wrote this in a coffee shop, watching all the traffic, waiting on the Coda bus,
ordered up a sandwich, amazed by your melody, blasting in my headphones, familiar song played to me, the feeling still unknown, past leading everywhere, but nowhere at the same time, enough to spark insanity inside the most sane mind. Jealous of the birds cause God gave them the skies, so he builds a machine, now man learns to fly. You can fly too if the right price is paid, do away with the bird, put his ass in a cage. But even in a cage, still finds time to sing and testify to the beauty that the new day brings. They say the truth hurts, well half-truths still sting. If life is a bitch, I'm still giving her a ring. Never more sure this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm the youngest out of 4, mama could have stopped at 3. But everything around us and the way that we define it is the blink of an eye of the one who designed it. English, geometry, mathematics, chemistry, computer science, engineering, medicine, dentistry, taught in the classrooms, passed down in history. Man-made disciplines for living more efficiently. Concrete monuments erected more frequently. Man stands in awe of his perfect sense of symmetry. Great walls in China, pyramids in Egypt. Build and destroy it, pass it on, then repeat it. Above and beyond the call of what's really needed. The peak means nothing to us once we get to reach it. Parks and recreation, roadways, industry. A city now sits where the nature used to live in peace. Subject indigenous to genocide and slaughter. I'm living in a village named in that man's honor. Southside Columbus, my neighborhood is decent, but every single factory is there for a reason. Can't prove a thing, but believe me that I feel it, as real as the toxins in the air when I breathe it. I want success so bad that I can barely sleep. It's hard to count sheep when you thinking about beats. Thinking about greatness, not thinking about beef. They need to do the same and stop thinking about me. I value time too much to be around certain people. Let them pat each other on the backs and stroke each other's ego. Take all the credit for success that might meet you, but when the blame is passed, they don't want to share that equal. People say anything, I try not to sweat it. Respect myself too much to put their names on my records. I never owned a gun. God gave me other weapons, cause the strength of any weapon doesn't rest in the weapon, and my message is my weapon. That's where the power found. A jewel for you fools who wonder how I'm still around. Leader of many men, king with no crown, emerged from the wilderness, headed back to town, rejected his birthright and ran away from home, but he the only one can pull that sword from that stone and be the best ruler that his city's ever known. So until I'm overthrown, I'ma be here on my throne and I'm gone.
The first instrumental music I ever heard was a DJ Crush record and then a DJ Shadow record. This was maybe in 93, 94. And it just kind of blew my mind that you could actually make a beat that wasn't intended to be rapped on that was still interesting. And that was my first experience with instrumental records and instrumental music. And I remember the kid played it for me and I was just like, this is crazy. I want to do this. This was right as I started making beats. One day I was like, one day I'm going to make an instrumental album. And so ever since then, I've always been into instrumental music. All right. So this, people have seen me live. This is the infamous Keytar. I've been rocking with the Keytar for maybe 4 or 5 years at live shows, and people are always like, where the hell does a rapper get a Keytar from? So I ended up with the Keytar basically because, you know, I started playing stuff after my Adventures album, and I was like, how can I bring something to the stage that's not what everybody else is doing? And so I started bringing like little MIDI controllers first, had a keyboard that looked like this, but it wasn't nothing that you could carry. And so at that time I would just leave a keyboard on a stand and I would just play. I would play along with things. And then one day, you know, I saw one of these and I was like, oh snap, I might be able to freak this. So this is what people don't know is this is a Rock Band video game controller. So this is really not even supposed to be used for this, but I found a way to use this to send, it has like MIDI built into it, so you can send notes to other things. So I'll use it to control like all the sounds that I play. And sometimes people are just like, where does this even come from? But you know, it's just like anything else. So, and this is kind of the rig that I use when I play live. It's pretty much just like this, my laptop, keyboard stand, and then I have my laptop here where you know the sounds are coming from. I don't know if this is on. Let me turn this on. Make sure this thing is rocking. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna hear is this. So it can play any sound. So here, live I usually play like pianos or keys or and so forth and so on. But you know, since a keytar, you got to do something. It's like body movement we do. And groove. That's basically it. That's the Keytar. Yep.
Man, now listen, man, I didn't have no voice, bro. I was okay. I could catch a few runs here and there, but I couldn't sing anything out of my range at all. But the dope part of it was, man, is that, you know, we was just creating, man. We was just vibing and we was just doing our thing, man. That's what music is all about, you know, it's just finding that vibe and creating from that vibe, man. And I really enjoyed that, man, because it was an outlet. My real name is Ronald Cunningham. I don't go by Ronald. I hate that name. Everybody calls me Buster, but in all honesty, man, when I started rhyming, my name was Inkwell, and I rhymed with a group called Greenhouse Effect. Yeah. But you know, man, now everybody just calls me Bus. My initial reaction for listening to King No Crown, man. First of all, let me be real. I stopped being a fan of music for a minute. You know, like when I got out of music and I stopped rhyming and doing that, I literally stopped listening to music. I just cut it off. And for a while, man, I was like an angry, bitter MC. You know, like, man, why ain't this happen for me? You know, so I was just like, nah, man. You know, I'm not gonna front, man. I wasn't listening to music. So I started getting back into listening to music again, and I was listening to music as a fan more so than as an artist, and I started to get to appreciate the art of the music and what people were doing. So I was listening to his music as a fan. I was listening to Print as a fan, not just as a colleague in the music business. So what was cool about it was, I was like, man, the first thing that came to my mind was the conceptualization of the album. I was like, man, this brother is on something, on some heat. You know, he kind of comes in with the landing, and the landing is talking, you know, it's not even, there's some guys on there kind of guiding them into a safe landing, and then they seem stepping down into some new territory, which I was like, okay, you know, all right, that's what's up. But then, you know, I'm like, all right, well, let me see how this goes, man, because I've been a fan of his production, and then all of a sudden, man, I hear the beat just drop, like, I'm like, oh, like, this is heat. I'm like, man, this is straight heat. So I'm like, okay, all right, let's see let's see what's going on here, man. I started listening to the Talented 10th. I couldn't get off the first track for about 6 or 7 straight listens, because I'm sitting here like, wow, man, this is what's up. You know, like he's not only explaining something positive and energetic and actually valuable to people, but he has it at a point to where it is so artistically talented that it's like, whoa. As a friend, as a brother, you know, I've always been that type of fan, but when I got the opportunity to listen to this, it gave me an opportunity to step back and listen to it as a real fan, which I was, but at the same time, it was on a whole different level for me, because even if he wasn't who he was to me, I would still be listening to it the way that I am now.
we play, this is that same thing. She got us doing this. We weren't performing at the festival. She just was like, hey, y'all can, if y'all want to make some money, you can do an in-store at this festival because they got vinyl sellers and shit there. And you can sell your merch there if you want to perform during the breaks of the festival. You can do that while people are coming down shopping. I only had $400. Yeah. I'm like, why the not? Yeah. I'm broke as hell. You know what I mean? Yeah. $400 at that time was probably like $250.
Right,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Especially overseas.
Yeah, overseas it wasn't shit. You know, so I was like, it. So I go, and I'm like, I'll do it. Everyone else is like, no, we're not gonna do it. We don't like that. We think that's corny. I was like, all right, cool. I go in between the acts, motherfuckers coming out. I just start spitting 4-minute verses. Yeah. Pretty soon, 20, 30, 40 people around the booth. Yeah. I make like 100, 150 euro. I'm geek. Like, all right, cool. We ain't had no show for the next 2 days. So I'm like, well, Karen, I need to get to Barcelona because we had 3 days off, and I had an ex-girl in Barcelona who invited me out. I was like, I just need to get back to Berlin to get to my flight to Barcelona, and I'm good. She's like, don't worry, I got a shuttle set up for you in the morning. It'll take you there. Just be in the lobby at 7 o'clock. All right, cool. This is the funny shit. I walk in the lobby at 7 o'clock. No one there but me. I'm like, all right. Must be a little early. Driver shows up at like 7:15. He walks in, looks around, and says, little brother? I say, yeah.
You're all
He grabs my bags. Right? Puts my bags in the bag. I'm sitting in the back. I get all in the back. I was like, wow. I wonder if this shuttle was really for me. You know? I look out the window, about 10 minutes goes past, and out walk Fontaine and Boo. Now, the funniest part is I had just met them the week before at Soundset. Like, the month before Soundset. They didn't know I was going to be there. Yeah. They hop in the thing, like, kind of confused because he didn't know who the they were. Yeah. I said I was them. Yeah. They get in the van. They walk in the back and they look at me like, what the you doing here, Blueprint? I said, trying to get to Berlin, dog. I had to pretend I was y'all, man. I know this is dying, boy.
Yo, and to bring this next artist up, I ain't seen him rock in a minute. It's about to go crazy in this motherfucker. Let's raise the roof again. Let's wild out again. Let's make some noise again. Let's black the out again. Give it up for Superstition.
I ended up on the King No Crown tour from meeting Blueprint, I want to say back in 2002, 2003. He had came through Charlotte, North Carolina. I remember the spot. It was called the Hungry Duck. It was Blueprint, Illogic, and DJ Prism, rest in peace. And I'd already been a fan of Blueprint. I'd heard him on the Aesop Rock joint. I picked up some of his other music and all that, and I always tried to go out and support independent shows because there weren't a lot of shows coming through at Charlotte at that time. So we just, I went through to the show, kicked it with him, talked to him, introduced myself. It was funny because when you introduce to people, you just think they don't know who the fuck you are or whatever. And he was like, oh, Superstition, all right. He was familiar with the name or whatever. So we had some mutual acquaintances, business acquaintances. But ever since then, we kind of stayed in touch, back and forth, doing songs here and there. He brought me out for a couple of shows in Columbus, always good on his word. Whenever he was like, yo, I want to bring you out for, the Greenhouse, release party and things like that. And always, showed love. So we just stayed in touch from there, man. And got the invite for the King No Crown. Well, actually, the first time we spoke on it, I think I just moved to Atlanta. I was like, yo, I can't do it right now. We just moving in. I can't just leave for a couple months or whatever. So, I think that year Count Basie ended up going. And then the following year, we spoke on it. I think I hit Print up about like doing a project or something. And he was like, yo, you want to go on the road? I was like, why not? So, just took it from there.
The King No Crown tour was myself, DJ Rare Groove, and Superstition from North Carolina. That was a tour to promote the King No Crown record that came out in 2015. It was I think it was like 65 cities somewhere between 60, 65 cities. We hit pretty much every state except Mississippi. We hit Alaska. We hit everywhere, man. We had stretches where we had up to like 18, 19 shows in a row. No day off. It was like a real tour. And it was, we've been doing those longer tours for the last 4 or 5 years. So it was another one of those longer tours to promote the King No Crown record.
It was pretty awesome, man. I got to meet a new friend by the name of Superstition, who joined us on that tour. I ended up DJing for him as well. We had a lot of good shows, a lot of good city. Our first good Atlanta show as well, which was, phenomenal for us and groundbreaking. It was a really good tour, man.
It's funny because I was used to doing a lot of spot dates, or I do shows for like a week or so. But I remember Print told me after the first couple shows, like, yo, you don't want to go hard like that every night. And I was thinking, he just don't want me to rock. He don't want me to rock. About 10 shows in, I start losing my voice, and I'm like, man, I got 50 more shows to go. So, it's one of those things that teaches you discipline, dedication. It teaches you how to be a performer. You know when to pull back. You really know when to go in. So, it's a science to it, man.
The first half of the King No Crown tour was amazing. It was good to see Superstition, because it was his first national tour in the United States. It was good to see Superstition kind of go to all these markets where he's never been booked at and see that there are people there.
I'm a bad man. I catch bullets in my overs. Body slam forwards. Take flight with the weight of the world on my shoulders. Play naked, play no any chains and owners. We started as moving talk. Turning the thoughts and turning crews in the mood and no success. Insatiable. Appetite to God or life force. Small banks and satellite, your solar system is my president. I'm on it, I don't sweat the small things and nonsense. Every dog has its day, even more so in rhyming. To understand again, I never play a fire hydrant or grab the mic, silently pour down and tired. This cats don't really fall off. They just get uninspired all before you. Get a reason I have to diss us. I'll drop an ill metal beat and get some beat like Bobby Fischer. Resistance, the building block of all that is. And what it is alchemy.
That day, I remember we were leaving Iowa City and we had a day off. And I remember us being on the main interstate in Iowa for maybe about 4 or 5 hours driving towards Traverse City, Michigan. And I think we had maybe 2 or 3 days off in a row before our next show. So we weren't in any big rush, but we had been driving maybe 5 or 6 hours. And we got off that main interstate to take like a back route north.
We had just got Quiznos. And I was in the back, and we were just cruising along. It was kind of like a dirt road.
And we were just driving, we just kind of, you find your rhythm or whatever. He's driving.
We were going probably about 45, 55 miles an hour.
And then out of nowhere, Superstition jumps up.
And all I know, and I just happened to look up. I was looking at my phone, or I think I was looking at my tablet. And I looked up and saw a stop sign just out of nowhere.
And he's like, yo, check out, it's kind of alerts Al that it's a stop sign coming up.
And I was like, yo, stop sign. And I think Print saw it at the same time I did and tried to slam on brakes.
It was a wooded area in front, so you couldn't see the oncoming traffic. But the oncoming traffic actually didn't have to stop. So because we couldn't even see the traffic coming from the other ways, we had no idea what was going on, so slammed on brakes.
And we all three looked up and saw that there was a truck coming our way, who I also assumed tried to slow down themselves once they became aware of us.
Everything just slowed down. I looked over at the truck, I looked over at Print, and And I thought to myself, well, at least in my head, that's what happened. So, but when I looked, I just braced for impact.
You know, I was thinking, okay, well, if I keep sliding through here, then maybe I'll, you know, they'll hit us head on. You know, and I was hitting the brakes, and I was like, well, maybe I should pull up off the brakes. You know, so I pulled up off the brakes, hoping that we'd gain some more speed and kind of get ahead of it. But, you know, I don't know whether it worked or not, but the point of impact, it hit the van right at like the back tire area. We spun around 2 times, and then the van flipped twice.
I ain't never been in a car that flipped before, and it was scary as
Turntables flew out the back window into some random cornfield, and man, it was just, it's crazy, man.
By the time it stopped and we slid, just all 3 of us kind of just hanging on, and like Superstition and Al just kind of like being suspended to me from the back because they still had their seatbelts on.
I remember asking Super, is he okay? And then, because we were on our sides, and so I looked down at him because we still had our seatbelts on because we couldn't move. And he said he was okay. And then I looked at Groove, and Groove was alive. And but we couldn't get out. We saw people running up to the van, and we didn't know it at the time, but the first people to run up to the van to help us out was the car that hit us, you know, which let us know that they were okay.
And I think that's when my video game instinct kicked in. It was like, it's like, don't take off your seatbelt because you're gonna fall. You know what I mean? It's like a video game. We know we had to crawl out.
It was mass King No Crown vinyl all over the road. It was mass CDs of all of our product. Our luggage had got propelled. One of my turntables had got propelled like 50 feet, like yards away. Like, that's how hard the impact was. Like, I couldn't even toss that turntable like that if I wanted to with the case.
At that moment, I remember I was just sad. I was just like, this is it. The tour is over. Because I was just sitting there like, how do we come back from this? You know, like, I'm a determined person, but I really didn't know how the fuck people come back from that. Because I'd never heard of anybody having anything like that happen to them and finishing a tour.
It was real. I mean, it was sadness, there was anger, there was a lot of things you feel when you're in an accident. But at the end of the day, you felt like I walked away with my life. You know, none of us sustained any major injuries, you know, just a cut and scratch here. It could have been a lot worse, you know.
To get out of it and just to see the van laying there and see all our just thrown all over the road, and then just look at all of us and be like, damn, we made it, you know what I mean? Like, we weren't meant to be stopped. It wasn't our time. It was just a sign of like, maybe slow down, you know what I mean, on whatever we might be dealing with personally, you know. But it was a blessing in disguise of some sorts, you know.
I remember the police they were taking us to this hotel, and I just remember being real sad. You know, I had the guilt, and I didn't know whether the tour was gonna happen. And I remember I called my mom once we got settled in a hotel, and I just told her, like, Mom, I just almost died, you know. We about to end up calling it quits, you know. We had 2 weeks to go. We had been out 6 weeks. We had 2 weeks left. We weren't that far from home, you know. We're in Illinois or Iowa somewhere, and my mom was just like, hey, if you can't do it, call it quits. She said, but if you can find a way, find a way. The
donations, it bugged me out. it bugged me out. I felt the love. It was a point I didn't know that Print had posted what he had posted for, I believe it was a GoFundMe account or something of the sort. And I had went to sleep and woke up and just saw like these mass notifications via Facebook and Twitter. And I was like, the hell is all of this? And then like I had texts, messages in my phone from friends from out of state asking was I okay and that's forth and that. And at that point I hadn't told anybody but real close family members. And so I was just kind of like tripping, like, where the hell did they hear this from? So then I looked on Facebook and whatnot, and I saw what Print had posted. And it was very heartfelt, like it kind of choked me up a little bit. And then when I saw where it was at, and then that was bugging out because I saw my dad even contributed. And, you know, I think I did tell him what happened, but I didn't know about the page and the donations at that particular moment.
But it was just one of those things. He did a Kickstarter, raised the money, and that's when you start to appreciate human beings and the kindness of people, because they all chipped in and helped him get another van, helped him get back on the road, man. And it was amazing. And I was grateful, because if we had ended that tour that day, I would have still been grateful and thankful that I was able to do that tour, you know. But I would have been really upset if I had died in Iowa.
My guy Bob ended up letting us borrow his van to finish the tour. It made me feel good, you know, seeing people contribute to help us finish the tour was one of the most validating things, because, you know, as an artist you make music, but you don't really know how it touches people. You don't really know the value that they hold until something like that happens, right? And then when you say, hey, now I might need some help, you get to see how much what you've done has made a difference to people's lives. And I think that that's truly what that showed me. It wasn't so much about the money as much as it was about people's generosity and the goodwill that they had towards us that I knew, but that was really like alarming. It was like, wow, I didn't know it was like that. You know, because we go out and those tours aren't easy. You know, we take those tours to the smallest markets where no one will go. And sometimes we don't make a lot of money going to some of those markets. And, but to see that those people cared, it was super, super, you know, inspiring.
Called my homeboy about cause he got a drone, and I got somebody that's reaching out to me about a car commercial, and I remember him telling me he had a drone, this, that. Holler at him early this morning. How you doing with that drone? His ex got a hold of the drone and destroyed it. He didn't send me he sent me pictures of it. I'm like, oh well, I guess that ain't gonna work. Mario Hensley, aka Grim Hensley, Grim Diabolic. I'm a video producer, videographer, editor, director. I do it on my free time. You know, as far as my day job, I'm a television producer. Can't tell you where I work at, but that's pretty much all I do. And I am the director of the Perseverance video. Y'all get closer together for me? Yeah, there you go, there you go.
But I'll let you grab that because for continuity's sake, yes.
Blueprint has his all together. You know, all his T's are crossed, you know, his I's are dotted. And you have to know that when you're dealing with certain people, if they're on top of their then they expect a certain amount of professionalism from you. Okay, what I'll do, well, that'll be the last thing he does, right? Yep. Okay. Okay, once he gets everything set up, I'll do that. So before he puts the needles on, I'll stop the camera and I'll get a close-up of his hands putting the needles on. I love working with him. When you work with like-minded people, you know what I mean, the job gets really interesting, you know what I mean? And I like being around people I can learn from. even when I come by here to shoot or something, there's always something going on that's inspiring. Regardless if it's the fact that he has no TV in his house, but a bookshelf with just books, you know, that's inspiring. You know, when you start reading the titles of the books and then you have a conversation with Blueprint about something that he read from a book, like, you know, it's never a dead moment. You know what I mean? There's a charisma, a personality that, you know, you're dealing with more than just being hired to shoot video for somebody.
Yeah, to learn your technique, but yeah, after a while you can't just...
Yeah, same shutter shots and all that.
Yeah, and people really, they remember the simple.
Mm-hmm.
You do some simple and wins, you're like, well, maybe all this bullshit I was doing, maybe the average doesn't care.
You don't get that from all rappers. I've had video shoots where start fighting in the parking lot, where start fighting in the living room, and it's always over some small sometimes they're drunk. My biggest pet peeve is motherfuckers who don't know their lyrics. I don't understand that though. I don't understand how you could write the song, record it, recite it, and then when it comes down to the video, you don't know the words. That is my biggest pet peeve, man. Out of all the crazy I've ever had to deal with out of shooting videos, moving locations, things like that, that is the that sets me up. I mean, I can see missing a word or mispronouncing a bar, but when you got 16 bars and you can only recite 4 of them, and that's not even the first 4, that's like 1 bar at the beginning, 2 bars in the end, and the last bar that goes into the chorus. The rest of the is dancing and looking cool. And then I gotta take several takes of that of you just dancing, looking cool, and not reciting your words. So instead of a music video, it ends up being a dance track with about 25% of that verse of that song you dancing. Your performance turns into B-roll footage on top of the B-roll footage that's already there. Your friends might like it, you know what I mean? And that's cool if the people seeing it like that. But for me, come on, man. That shit is gonna be dope.
I have a few favorite tracks. I really love Persevere, King No Crown, Great Ideas Never Die, and Black Intellectual. I think those are probably my favorite tracks.
Persevere, that's one of my top ones. I also like Black Intellectual.
The favorite track of mine is Persevere. Persevere, I think, just kind of like Respect the Architect with Perspective. It's kind of like a second volume of that song to me. It basically explains that this is it's to me, it's the blueprint of what this art and being an inventive, creative person is. So Persevere is my favorite song. I think The Talented 10th is another one that is about one of the deepest songs on the album, although the entire album as itself is pretty deep. But yeah, Persevere is it brings tears for sure if you're into it.
While Great Ideas Never Die is clearly, especially coming from the era that I come from, is huge. Persevere was probably my favorite song on the record. Especially I can remember seeing it live at Soundset 2 years ago, and that being really the moment where I was like, wow, I was kind of blown away by it. The Talented 10th is super sweet, but yeah, just the Great Ideas Never Die track as well. I mean, there's not enough you can really say about it.
check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. Yeah. No.
Even though Idea's mother has been putting together this annual tribute for him for the past 5 years, this was the first time I had been able to play the event. It was hard to believe 5 years had passed since his death, but I couldn't think of a better time to have played it since my tribute song about him, Great Ideas Never Die, was on my latest album, King No Crown.
Yeah. I think this is the only one I'm gonna use today. Hey.
Talk to me about volume on stage.
Just a little bit more in the wedges. I'm gonna kick it and move it around so it's not.
The show itself was larger than it had been in previous years, sold out in advance, packed from the moment doors opened.
This is Logic. I'm part of Greenhouse, half the orphanage, or part of the orphanage. I'm here celebrating Mikey's birthday, 5-year anniversary. Just enjoying myself, man. Haven't seen all my friends I ain't seen in a while. I think Mikey's legacy is gonna live for a long time because we're all part of it. Like, he inspired a lot of us to continue to do what we're doing and expand beyond just being rappers and, you know, doing other things, writing books, playing instruments, things like that. So I think his legacy will live on through all of us and everything that we continue to do.
Okay, my name is DJ Abilities, and I'm here to honor Mike's memory. I'm very proud of what he and I did together in terms of a legacy style thing. I do genuinely believe that what we made will be listened to forever. I think we have some indelible stuff, and it will continue getting played, and I'm proud of that. So, from a musical aspect, even though I think that there was much more that could have been done, I feel like we left a very good, strong amount of music out there for people to digest for years to come. And as far as the legacy is concerned, I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish.
As far as the show itself, tonight's show in Minneapolis was emotional but special. It was emotional because I was paying tribute to a dear friend who had passed away. But it was special because I was in a room with 1,200 other people who felt the exact same way. Not only the fans, but getting to share tonight's stage with friends like Logic, Carnage, DJ Abilities, and Murs made it even more special. What made it even better was getting to end my set with Great Ideas Never Die. And even though it was a little bittersweet, it felt good to pay tribute to my friend.
My name is Kathy Averill. I'm Mike Larson Idea's mom. He was very creative and very talented and always doing something. And so whatever that was, then I was there to support that. And when he became like a teen, he decided or became more poetic or, you know, liked writing and reading and things more. So I think that's where hip-hop filled that void or started that. But I don't think it was me. I just think I was the type of parent with anybody. If you want to do something, okay, here, we're going to do this and you need to explore it. And like I said yesterday, you got to do it for a year. And then you decide if you want to continue to do this, yes, then we'll make our schedules and things so you can do this. If you don't, then choose something else and then do that for a year and continue and stuff like that. So that's why I think it was the righty that led him to hip hop, but I think it was the I have to do this for a year attitude that was like, oh, but I like doing this, so I want to continue to do this. And then because he was young, of course I had to go and do and stuff because he couldn't drive, he couldn't, you know, get a room, he couldn't rent a car, he couldn't get a, you know, anything. I mean, so then that's just how that proceeded. I think the younger stuff was kind of fun and poking fun or picking on different aspects of things we all feel as teenagers and in, you know, the insecurities and all that stuff. And then I think his later stuff was more connected to the fact that we're all human and we all have these same questions and emotions and wonderments. And he could put that into words so that if he was talking about like Sasha, somebody else would take it as a girlfriend or as a husband or as a job. But he was actually talking about the dog, you know, and I think those universal feelings that we're all human is what keeps people coming back. That door was right here.
Okay.
And then the wall was there with the window and the plastic right there.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I took that out when Mikey died. Well, Mike put all the work into it, I guess I would say. I mean, he designed this room. He didn't actually like lay the floor, but he did actually like make the sound and put those things. I did the painting. Everybody helped. Like I said, I got pictures of like Bird and my brother and my dad and stuff helped move the pianos and, you know, the organs and stuff. And so everything, I mean, even the wiring and stuff that we had a friend come in and do. The studio's on its own separate wiring. It's got its own little box, its own stuff, so that if the power blows in the house or something, this is all separate. So this is the plexiglass that was for the sound window, and these are the 2x4s, and there's some of the insulation and the screws and the frame that went around the plexiglass thing. Yeah, so this is all parts of that sound booth where that door was. Mike put tons of thought and drew out pictures and where I want this to go and how I want this to go, and he did unbelievable amounts of research for different soundproofing and stuff. Like in that room, those are crushed fiberglass, like insulation, and then we took t-shirt material and we wrapped it around them and we glued them, and then we glued hangers in them so that you can hang them and you can move them and all kinds of stuff. I mean, he researched and did it all himself, and then just people came to do things that he couldn't do. Like we did, my dad and him and stuff did all the framing and everything, but he couldn't do all the electrical, so we had a friend who's an electrician come in and do that. He couldn't put in the floors, but we had a friend who puts in floors come in and put in the floors. But the size and where everything goes and all that stuff, that was all him.
As a friend of ideas, hearing great ideas never die really touched me, because a lot of the things that Brent was talking about, I was present for a lot of those moments, and I remembered a lot of those moments, and you know, I shared in a lot of that with Brent and Idea and a lot of our other friends from Minnesota, and you know, just on the scene in general. So it was a great to hear and great to have a friend of ideas and someone that really knew him really kind of, dedicate something to him and get a good sense of, who he was, give the people a good sense of who he was. I love the song to this day.
So there's like a whole new wave era of Idea fans that kind of like latched on right before he passed, outside looking in. And this song is from the perspective of someone that knew him as, little Scribble Jam Mikey. Not to sit here and talk to the camera or anybody else like I knew him, but I feel like it was like, when you're a kid, you are just your full self. I feel like you have no walls, and to know someone that knew that version and have it be communicated, fans, I think was great, especially because, there are all those other versions that are, from, it was just a nice balance of objectivity and subjectivity. It wasn't just, oh, here's my, here, it was, emotional, but in a way where it was like a step back, not right next to it, which I thought was cool.
Success to me is being able to wake up and do what you want to do every day of your life. Consequently, failure is having to do things you don't want to do all day long. To me, I never put success in like a dollar amount. So success to me is like knowing that it's been almost 13 years and I've been a full-time musician. I'm not rich by any, definition of that, but in terms of freedom, I'm successful. I'm rich in terms of freedom. So I think that's successful. Just being able to do what you love every day. So what we have here today is soundtracks, records, and whatnot. The last couple weeks I've just been messing with a lot of soundtracks. Star Trek, Mission Impossible. Let me see what else we got. Clockwork Orange. Tough Guys. I don't know what that is. I've never seen the movie, but it looks cool. Silent Running. Mel Brooks, High Anxiety. And so the thing about digging that a lot of people don't know is that it take time, man. So like, you can't be like a fake record collector. Like, you can get on the internet and you can get some samples, but like, it takes a lot of patience to like sit here for hours and like actually listen to this shit for sampling. So like, I started out sampling, and so my root is in that. I also play and do original stuff, but I just got a love for sampling. So a lot of times, I'll just be deep in the records looking for gems like this, man. It's just tools of the trade. If someone would have told me 15 years ago that, hey, you're gonna quit being a computer programmer and then you're gonna be an artist for the next 13 years, and you're gonna have that job longer than you did anything else in your life, I probably would have laughed in their face. Like, you're right, dog. That's not gonna happen. I'm working 60 hours a week here right now. I can't even get a weekend off. I never would have guessed that back then. And then looking at how it's played itself out, it's really kind of amazing, because every year I always think, okay, this is the last year. There's no way this is gonna last another year or another month. And somehow it just does. And then somehow it's another year and 2 years, and you're like, wow, I can't believe it, I'm still doing this.
Yeah. Shit feels great. Can't stop me. It's Printmatic. Yeah. I like to get inside the car and drive along open roads to open up my mind. Watch the sun rise, reflect on life. Wishing that the gas prices wasn't so high. The lust of the dollar make you holler or cry. But even in the winter, the birds still fly. Sometimes success is deceiving to the eye, cause people say they rich when they just getting by. Television make you think it's something you can buy, but before you get the truth, you gotta sort through the lies. Choose your own path and walk on by. The only true failure is if you don't try. I don't respect people who don't respect time, sitting on their hands while the clock tick by. Consider this a word to the wise. If you love what you do, then it ain't really your grind. I'm talking about hard work. I'm talking about patience. It's a celebration of your journey, even when you don't know your final destination. I'm talking about hard times. I'm talking about blood, sweat, and tears. Recognize that the reason that you here is only cause you figured out a way to persevere. Perseverance. 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 I never wanna have to tell the people who I am. You wanna learn a thing or two, talk to my fans, or hop in the van and come to my jam. I practice on my set until 2 a.m. Before this was my job, I just wanted one chance to motivate the crowd in my b-boy stance, explore the art form and see foreign lands. And now that it's here, it ain't slipping through my hands. How we pay homage but stay so advanced. It sounds like water in waves that crash. It knows no form, constricts and expands. Try to hold it down, it just slips through the cracks. A ritual is wax, we pile it in the stacks. Intentionally use the sound of vinyl when it cracks. Your boy mean biz, you can feel it in my raps. Seen it, done it all, but still spiritually intact. Come on. I'm talking about hard work. I'm talking about patience. It's a celebration of your journey, even when you don't know your final destination. What? I'm talking about hard times. I'm talking about blood, sweat, and tears. Recognize that the reason that you're here is only because you figured out a way to persevere. Can I do one more song before I get out of here, guys?